Hello, my sewing friends. Welcome back. My name is Lisa, and I have been your instructor during this Sewing for the Family series. I've really enjoyed walking you through some of the basics, like how to alter clothes, how to find your clothes in the right fit for everyone in the family to make altering a bit easier. And then we've talked about upcycling. Speaking of upcycling, we are going to do our second project, which is upcycling a men's or women's dress shirt into a little girl's dress. I love upcycling. I think it's a great use of garments so that we can repeat and rewear and even pass down something for generations. So for this project, we're going to use the men's or women's dress shirt. As I mentioned, as long as it's got buttons down the front, you are good. And we also are going to need our basic sewing essentials. Here I have a rotary cutter instead of fabric shears because I'm obsessed with them. But you can use your fabric shears. Those will work great. We also will be working with elastic. You'll just need about a yard of the thinner kind of elastic and our sewing machine. All right, so we've got our button-down shirt nice and flat laid out so that the front side is directly over the back side. And to begin, to get our dress shape, we're either going to trace a little girl's dress that we already have, or we're gonna eyeball it, which you know I love doing. Typically, you should trace the dress that you have. I don't have a dress with me, so I'm going to eyeball it. And with that being said, our dress shape starts here at the top, just above the fourth button, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here at the top, I'm using a piece of chalk to mark since my fabric is kind of dark, and now I'll be able to see it with this chalk. So we've got our collar, which reaches over here, and then we want a little poof for the sleeve, and then come to the side here. Then I'm going to draw a line for the sleeve. It's going to cut in for the sleeve, and then a line directly down to the side for the skirt. So that's kind of hard to see on camera, but let me just draw it with my finger here. And that is our dress shape. I only marked half of the shirt because what we're gonna do to make it perfectly even, take the shirt and fold it in half so that the buttons are on one side and the sides of the shirt are on the other. And I'm going to very carefully line everything up again. Make sure the seams are matching. There we go. And once everything is lined up and outlined, we take our rotary blade or fabric shears, and we are just going to slice that shirt right up along the line that we drew. All right, so we're gonna set all this crap aside for now and just focus on this cute little piece. You know what I didn't do is I didn't button my shirt, and that might have helped us. So go ahead and get those buttons in place if you haven't yet. What I really like about this project is that you don't have to sew your own buttons in. They're already here, so it's super cute. I mean, it looks like a little baby version of the plaid shirt, so I just love it. Okay, now basically all we have left is we sew up the sides, and then we're gonna add some elastic to the sleeves and the neckline. So first, let's do the sides. So when it comes to sewing, remember, you always want your right sides together, which means the side everyone sees should be sewn facing each other, so when you turn it inside out, you don't see the seam. So right now, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm placing my right sides together, essentially turning it inside out. I'm going to pin them in place and sew up the sides. When I reach the corner of where my sleeve is, I'm going to back stitch just a little because I want to reinforce that seam. And then with my needle still in the machine, I'm going to rotate, put the needle back down, put the presser foot back down, and finish up that little cap. I'm going to repeat for the other side, and then we will sew up our top. So here we've got what our little shirt looks like with the sides and bottom of the arm sewed up with the yellow thread. Next, we are going to focus on the top of our sleeves here and then the collar. So let's sew up these little guys. Just going to pin that in place, match my raw edges. Now we've got the sides and our top sewn up. We are going to add elastic to the sleeves and the collar to make it fit the girl better. So we've got our elastic, and as I showed you earlier, it's kind of fun to sew because as you stretch it along with the fabric snaps to it and then it gathers itself. You don't have to do any work. And that's what we're all about, right? Just kidding. So I'm going to use about, this feels like a good amount of elastic right here. So here to here. Yes, that's a good amount of elastic. So I'm just going to cut that right here. Cut that off. And I'm just going to sew it to the collar like we have done before. So all I want to do is really just put the first pin in it, and I'm going to move the rest along with my hands. And I'm pinning directly over the seam allowance so that we can fold it under and hide that away. Since I'm working with a small hole, I'm going to remove the front part of my machine, and then we have more room to put the fabric over it so it doesn't get too bulky. And remember, folks, when you are sewing elastic, you want to use the zigzag stitch. And remember, folks, since we never pinned the elastic in place, we want to make sure we have it stretched while we sew. We have it stretched to where we want it to go. What we're doing here is just removing the little button, and we're going to sew it back on when we're done. This could have been avoided if I cut the fabric just an inch above it. I did not. But it's really no big deal to the finished look. I just don't want to ruin my machine by sewing over a button. So, back in action, put that together. Now, as you see here, we've got our shirt collar. I'm going to show you. We've top stitched our elastic onto our shirt collar. We're going to do the same thing to the other side, and then I'll show you how to hide it away so you don't see all this ugly zigzag. First, we have to do the same thing to the back side. Perfect. Whew. We just sewed on the back and the front of the collar elastic. Look at that great stretch. So this is what it looks like from the right side out, and this is what it looks like from the inside. With that, we don't really want to leave it looking like this. To be quite honest, it's ugly. So what we're going to do is turn that under. We're going to top stitch using a straight stitch, pulled out, and when you turn it, it'll just look a lot cleaner. So I'm moving my machine back to the straight stitch, moving my stitch width back to 0, and I'm just going to sew in a complete circle all the way around. I've reached my back, and I need to just make sure that that is folded under too. And we're going to keep going. All right, now I've stitched that back on, taken out any leftovers, and now basically my only issue is that we used this yellow color instead of a nice color that blends well. And that is purely so that you, my lovely viewers, can see. I really hope that at home you used something that matches. And you can just see that looks a lot cleaner. I've kind of hidden away the zigzag, and the girl is going to wear it with no issues. So we're doing the same thing as before. I'm measuring my elastic. This is the right amount, but we want it to stretch so that this amount feels good. I always like just manually deciding my amount. And we're going to pin it in place here on the bottom and then just wrap it around with the machine all the way. It's a little too tight to go over my machine, but we're just going to make sure we do not catch the other side of the sleeve as we sew. So let's do this. And then remember, folks, move your machine back to the zigzag stitch. Moving my stitch width up to 3, and I'm going to sew all the way around. So I have got one sleeve zigzag stitched up. I'm just going to repeat what I did with the collar and turn it under and top stitch along the outside to seal that deal, and repeat on the other sleeve. And now you have this adorable little girl's dress made from a dress shirt. And that, my friends, is upcycling at its finest. I will show you how to do your own table linens, your own curtains, and I've got a bonus for you. So first up, your basic table linens. I'm just going to show you how to do a napkin. So we have this napkin, and since it's just a scrap of fabric, the dimensions don't have to be perfect.